Welcome back. For those of you who do not know me, my name is Laura Jane, and I am the founder of Inversion Academy, where we teach people from their very first headstands how to achieve a strong handstand and mobility and everything in between. If you would like to join me at Inversion Academy, you can check out the link in the description below. But in today's YouTube video, I wanted to do an inversion Q&A of some of the most common questions that I am asked about learning inversions. So let's get started. So the first question is, I am 40 years old. I've never practiced an inversion. Is it too late for me to learn? This is surprisingly a question that I get a lot. And although the age that people mention, it varies. Some people are saying that to me at age 20 and some people are saying that at age 60. It's saying the same thing, which is, I've never done these things before. I'm an adult now and I don't know if this is possible for me. And the answer to that, very simply, is yes, you absolutely can still learn. Where things get more complicated is if you have a pre-existing injury or something that simply makes inverting or getting upside down unsafe for you. So if you are medically approved, if you are cleared to practice inversions, there is no reason why you cannot learn. And in fact, I taught myself, and although I was 18 when I taught myself, at that age, I actually had asked myself that question already. Am I too old to learn this? I never took gymnastics. I never did dance. And I felt that it wasn't possible. It absolutely is possible. What is extremely important is that you start at the beginning and that you put a huge emphasis on form, technique, and being patient with yourself. This is just as much of a mental journey as it is physical. So I think the question is if you are excited and if you want this, why wouldn't you be able to learn? So you absolutely can, and I love helping beginners learn inversions. It does not matter where you are in life, I'm here to help, and that's what I do at Inversion Academy. The link's in the description below. All right, question number 2. How long should I practice as a beginner? A lot of the times we overdo it when we're first starting things because you're excited and you want the handstand and you do too much and then it freaks you out, and sometimes it can kind of throw you off track, or it can just kind of be a little bit discouraging. So what is extremely important to remember with inversions is that you're balancing upside down. None of us were born with the ability to balance upside down. So it means that for absolutely everyone, there's going to be a time period where your body's adjusting to this new activity. So you want to, as a beginner, actually really just make this a small part of your physical routine, regimen. So if you work out 3 times a week, add on some headstand training for just 10 minutes of that workout, and then you just slowly increase that. You should not be trying to train inversions like you would regularly go to the gym and, train them for an hour and a half, 4 times a week when you've never done this before. You're going to totally overdo it. So for beginners, a lot of the times I just recommend as little as 15 minutes a day, and that should look like a 5-minute warm-up, 5 minutes of practice, and 5 minutes of cooling down. If you just want to do a little inversion workout, do that like 4 times a week or even just once a day, and that is an incredible intro into your inversion practice, and you might even still find that to be a little bit much. But just those smaller practices are what we're actually aiming for so that you don't burn yourself out. So really just short and sweet, keep it at 10 to 15 minutes every other day, and you will make progress while maintaining your health and not burning yourself out. However, I definitely encourage still working out in other ways, or still making sure that you're getting active or practicing your mobility or your yoga or whatever else it is that you enjoy. We don't want our inversion practice to take away from those things, so that's why we just start to slowly mingle it in. Question number 3. How long does it take to learn a handstand? So this is a question I get all the time, and it is basically a trick question because people are asking me it thinking that I have a real answer, and I don't, because it's different for everybody. It took me 2 years to be holding a solid handstand. Keep in mind, I was completely self-taught. This was about 6 years ago, and I did not have access to what I'm giving all of you guys access to with Inversion Addict Academy. I really was going through it on my own because I also lived in the middle of nowhere, didn't have access to a yoga studio, and was downright embarrassed at the beginning of my practice. So I spent a lot of time in the dark, and that definitely prolonged how long it took me to learn a handstand. But I would say for most people, if you have never done any of this before and you're taking it seriously and you're progressing through in a meaningful way, I think that it would take you about a year to achieve a solid handstand. But some people are crazy and do it in like 2 months. Some people take 5 years, and that's completely okay, because the thing is your life isn't just learning how to do a handstand. Your life is a full, complete life that looks like many different beautiful and chaotic things. And this is just a practice that you're trying to fit in there. So it might take you a little bit longer than you might have thought, but the reality is handstands are hard. And when you do finally achieve a strong handstand, it is worth every single day that you showed up for that practice, no matter how many of them there ended up being. So it takes a while, it's up to you. And the absolute quickest way to get to a handstand is to make sure that you are informed with the correct information from the very start. So again, if you're worried about any of that, you can check out the link below, because that is my 100% main focus with Inversion Addict Academy. Question number 4. Why should I learn headstands and forearm stands before handstands? This is a question that I think people mostly ask me out of being displeased with the fact that I'm telling them this is what they need to do. But there's a very clear, easy reason why. Headstands start with you at your lowest possible center of gravity in an inversion. Forearm stands increase your center of gravity and also increase the range of motion and the strength that is required from your shoulders. Handstands go and do that again. They raise your center of gravity, and then they further increase the strength and stability that is needed from your shoulders. So just like with math, inversions, if you take the building blocks, you're going to have a way better understanding by the time you get to the more challenging technical stuff like handstands or advanced mathematics. You don't want to hurl yourself into that without knowing your basic how to add and subtract. So with inversions, headstands and forearm stands, and forearm stands are not easy. Headstands in particular are where you're going in to learn those basics. You can learn how to get comfortable upside down, how to hold a strong line, how to press your body, how to basically hold a huge variety of shapes that you one day are just dreaming about holding in handstands. You can unlock that in headstand really soon. It is not unrealistic. And that is the incredible part about headstands. Whereas if you just brushed off headstands and you just focus on handstands, you're going to miss out on a ton of development for your inversion practice. And then the same thing happens with forearm stands, and it's because of what I mentioned before. Suddenly you go from your headstand, where you had your head rooted to the ground with this wonderful, very strong foundation, to all of a sudden your head's off the ground and your foundation is just on this frame, and your center of gravity is just a few inches higher. But the main difference is that your head is no longer rooted. All of your support, all of your stability is truly coming from your shoulders. So this is when you find out if you don't have a good enough range of motion in your shoulders to hold an inversion. So if your shoulders are too tight, you're going to find out in forearm stands, because they are going to feel practically impossible to enter. And that's going to be a signal to you to work on your shoulder mobility, because if you do not and you go over to handstands, then your handstands are going to be impacted. You'll have tight shoulders and you'll have an arch in your back, and you'll have that classic handstand with the banana back. So you start in headstands and you learn how to be upside down. And then you go to forearm stands and you learn how to find the strength and mobility and stability in your shoulders that you need to one day hold strong handstands. Once you have those forearm stands down and you're holding strong forearm stands, you are so close to handstands. So that's why you want to learn headstands and forearm stands first. It's not because, I'm just trying to be boring and get you to delay handstands. It's because there is so much value there that you simply just cannot even access in handstands as a beginner. We're so almost like blessed with how well inversions can actually progress to one another. You can truly start at the very basics of just learning how to walk your hips up in headstand, and one day get all the way to that moment in handstands and pressing off the floor by just leading one inversion into the next and not overlooking your headstands and your forearm stand practice. So that is a huge emphasis of mine at Inversion Addict Academy. It's why you don't just go in there and see a bunch of handstand classes. You're going to go in and see the bulk of our classes in headstands and forearm stands as well. And that's because these areas of your inversion practice should not be overlooked. And when you learn how to lean into them and find more strength in these areas, your handstand practice is going to reward you. So that is, I know, a long answer to why should I practice headstands and forearm stands first, but it is probably one of my most favorite parts about this inversion practice is that progression makes learning handstands accessible for just about anyone if you're willing to go through that journey and put in the work. So we're going to leave this inversion Q&A at that for today. If you would like to learn with me and learn more about everything I was just talking about, that is what Inversion Addict Academy is all about. It is a 100% inversion dedicated learning platform for you to go, whether you are a complete beginner or you're already working on handstands. We have drills and exercises for you to make sure that you're getting the most out of your practice. All right, you can go check out that link below in the description. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. I would love to know, and you can subscribe for more content. We're coming out with YouTube videos every week, so stay tuned. I will see you soon.